It's natural that students like senior Brandon Rayom have some concerns about the in-person reopening of the university.
Yes, I'm worried about myself, but yet again, also worried about like my classmates as well.
Just this week, Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, warned the number of new coronavirus cases could spiral up.
We are now having 40+ thousand new cases a day. I would not be surprised if we go up to 100,000 a day if this does not turn around.
UW Health Director of Infection Control Naja Safdar could see that happening.
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. We know that there's a large proportion that are asymptomatic that might go undetected. So if you take those into account and the doubling time that we're seeing in many states, that would not surprise me.
It's believed that proper protocols could keep classes from becoming a breeding ground for disease. Safdar believes that schools are more prepared now than they were when the pandemic began.
So now we have PPE, we have testing capability, we have the ability to monitor people very closely, and we know a lot more about this virus than we did then. So I think I'm comfortable at this point.
And getting back to class may be enough for students like Rayom and his friends to start to recover from the pandemic.
With me going back to campus now, it relaxes me because I know, okay, I'm going to be able to hang out with them.
Rayom will be able to hang out with his friends on September 2nd when the semester begins. Bradywilliams, Local 5 News. With decreased funds and higher unemployment rates, finding and maintaining a home is difficult for low-income families. For attorney Scott Schnurr, who advises tenants involved in fair housing disputes, this year has been difficult.
In June of last year, there were 91 eviction filings. In June of this year, 141 eviction files.
In cases where a tenant has been treated unfairly, it's even more difficult to push back.
The other problem with Wisconsin law right now is in the last few years, there's been a rollback of tenants' rights.
And he says tenants who pay rent after an eviction filing can still be evicted with no refund. So, Alderwoman Barbara Dorff has proposed a new Equal Rights Commission to hear complaints and advise local policymakers on how to support state laws and protect tenants.
This, to me, is that added layer that says the city of Green Bay supports the anti-discrimination legislation.
The federal government supports these efforts and says that the new commission needs to work to encourage Green Bay to promote fair housing practices.
Joseph Galvan is the Midwest Director of Housing and Urban Development.
It's about educating, and putting the message out there.
Galvan says tenants have been denied housing if exposed to the coronavirus, just one example of discrimination. He says these proposed actions help ensure people can buy and rent safely.
Just because he had contact with somebody, they should not be sent away.
The full plan will be unveiled when the Protection and Policy Committee meets on Monday. Bradywilliams, Local 5 News. Before the virus, Green Bay's Paul's Pantry was distributing an average of 9 tons of food a week to families in need. But since the pandemic hit, 1 in 7 people in eastern Wisconsin struggles to buy food.
We had over 500 new households register.
Groups like Feeding America of Wisconsin have seen a massive spike in food insecurity across the state.
Between March 1st and June 30th this year, we distributed 10.9 million meals worth of food, and that is an increase of 85% over what we distributed in that time period last year.
Paul's Pantry Director Craig Robbins says community donations have kept the pantry supplied.
And the community has just been outstanding, just so generous.
For all of the support that food pantries can provide, government assistance is still needed to keep people afloat. Experts say that federal programs like the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which helps people pay for their food, should be extended.
For every meal that the charitable food system provides, SNAP provides 9.
With COVID-related unemployment benefits dropping off at the end of July, more people could struggle financially.
We expect to get very busy here in the coming months. We're still here. The need is still here. The need is actually, increasing. So, don't forget about us.
There are 26 food pantries in Brown County. Robbins says it may be up to the people of Wisconsin to help their neighbors get by. Bradywilliams, Local 5 News. For many kids, being happy and carefree can be a struggle.
I don't think most people realize 1 in 5 adolescents have a mental health illness.
And with the deadly virus raging, clinical psychologist Dr. Crystal Lewis says even more could face emotional turmoil.
And when you have a negative life event or a specific stressor, such as a world pandemic, but that can kind of trigger some of the anxiety in these kids.
Parent-peer specialist Amy Arndt says for younger children, understanding a frightening disease can be difficult.
They don't understand what a pandemic is. What is this coronavirus?
But the biggest concern for every child is isolation. Kids can't get the help they need from medical professionals or teachers, and socializing in school or on playgrounds like this is a thing of the past.
Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction school psychology consultant Tim Pierenboom says the isolation can be a nightmare for kids in abusive homes.
That's one of the things that keeps me up at night, really.
He and experts like him say the best way to protect these kids is to stay in close contact with them and their families.
Put, mental health and wellness, safety, building a community at the forefront.
Approved schools will be allowed to start reopening on September 1st. Bradywilliams, Local 5 News. Wisconsin voters have 3 options to cast their votes: in person at a polling place, with absentee ballots at their local clerk's office, or by mail. Reed Magny of the Wisconsin Election Commission says the threat of infection has led over 700,000 Wisconsinites to register for absentee ballots for the August 11th primary.
More than 200,000 of those ballots are back already.
In the November elections, Executive Director of the Center for Election Innovation and Research, David Becker, says fear of the coronavirus could cause a massive spike nationally in mail-in ballots.
I think every single state is going to set a record for the number and percentage of mail ballots that come in.
Representative Mike Gallagher says a strong voter verification process needs to be in place to prevent any fraud.
We should make it very easy to vote, but extremely difficult, if not impossible, to cheat.
There's been much debate over whether mail-in voting can lead to election tampering. After all, what's stopping someone from casting a second ballot? But election experts say there's not much evidence to support that.
It occurs extremely rarely. The amount of voter fraud isn't zero, but it's very, very close to zero.
Gallagher and Becker both agree that the bigger concern is disinformation campaigns during election time.
We need every single American citizen to understand, sources of disinformation online.
Don't rely upon social media. Don't rely upon Twitter. Don't rely upon rumors.
To get an absentee ballot, apply at myvote.wi.gov. Bradywilliams, Local 5 News.